Hey everyone, welcome back to the Programming Fields. If you are new here, I'm Umesh Rana and I make practical Laravel and React tutorials to help you build powerful full stack applications. In our previous video, we built a reusable and dynamic model pop-up CRUD system using Laravel 12 plus React plus Inertia.js. And even we added beautiful toast notification to enhance user feedback. So if we'll try to update this category, here we can see we have a beautiful toast notification. And if you have not checked that video yet, I highly recommend watching it. The link is in the description. But now, today, we are taking things further by improving our layout experience. So you will learn how to add a toggle switch that lets users switch the sidebar position from this left to right, just like you would see in RTL layouts, and we will do it using React context. This will be the clean and modern way without using Redux or any heavy libraries. So currently, if you will see in the React starter kit, by default, the sidebar position is in the left. And if you want to toggle this to the right, you will have to customize this sidebar. So let's jump into it and make our UI even more customizable. But before diving into the code, let me quickly explain what React context is, because we are going to use React context in order to manage this state and event. So the React context is just like a global state manager built into React, and instead of passing props down through multiple components, you can store values like layout settings in one place and we can access them anywhere in our application. So in our case, we will use context to store the sidebar position that will be left or right, and we will allow any component in our application to read and update that state value. So if we'll check out the settings page provided by this React starter kit, we already have this appearance setting, and by using this we can change the theme of this application. Okay, so similar to this, we will manage the sidebar toggling position from left to right and right to left. So firstly, I will create one component in which we will have this RTL toggleable option, and in that component I will be using the same layout as we have this in the appearance setting. So let's navigate to the code editor, and inside resources JS we have the pages, and inside the pages we have the settings. So inside the settings we have the appearance.tsx. This is basically our component. Inside this we have this heading as appearance setting, and also we have this appearance tabs. So inside the appearance tabs we have the tabs like light, dark and system, which we are seeing here as rendered. So similar to this, I will create one more component inside this components directory, and I will just provide the component name as layout RTL settings.tsx. Now inside this component, I will simply duplicate this entire snippet of this appearance tabs and I will paste it here. Let me dock this window, and firstly I'll just change this component. So I will just create one function component. I will add export const layout RTL settings equals, and I will just add this fat arrow function here, and I will just remove this entire props. This is not needed. Also this HTML attributes, and I will remove this use appearance hook. We don't need this custom hook. And regarding the value, we need two values like left and right. Okay, this label will be left and right. Now regarding the icon, I will just change the icon to align left and align right, and we will have to specify the value type here. So we have two types of value as left and right. That's all. This is rendering the tabs, and from here this was performing one event to set that appearance value. So I will come to this part later. I'll just comment this on click and this condition as well, just like this. And also we will have to remove these class name and props. These are not needed, so I will remove this, and this cn is not needed here, just like this. Now let's navigate to the appearance component, and after these tabs I will just import that component, layout RTL settings. I will call that component. Okay, I will navigate to the browser, and we are getting that layout, but we have to separate it from the previous layout. So I will simply wrap this layout RTL settings in one div. So I will wrap one more div here. I will create div class flags, and I will change this to flags column, and I will add gap as 4, and I will close this div just outside this. Now if we'll check, yes, this is coming in a new line. And also I will provide one title as we have for this appearance setting. So I will copy it from this appearance setting component itself. So this is our head title. I will call it here after this, and I will import this. Also that description, and let's change this to layout settings, and let's update the description as choose your preferred layout direction. This will apply to the entire application, just like this. Okay, I will come to the browser, and yes, this is showing now. Now in the next step, we will have to work on this on click functionality, so that when we will click on the left or right, we will have to capture this value, and we will have to apply that for the application for changing this layout. Okay, so if we'll try to understand this layout, this setting is our separate component, and this sidebar component is additional. So we don't have any sync up between these two components. These two components are separate. Okay, but these two components are calling as a main component in app.tsx component. So if we'll navigate to the app.tsx, inside resources JS, we have this app.tsx component. Okay, this is our parent component, and this is rendering inside the root of the DOM. So anyhow, this sidebar component and this settings component both are calling inside the app component. So what we will do, from here we will pass one props or data just like position, and that will be captured in our settings and also in the sidebar. So moreover, from this RTL settings component, I will just perform the click event, and from here I will just capture the value of that chosen layout as left or right in the app component, and that will be captured using the context. And if it is in context, then we can access that value or events in any of our other components. Alright, so inside this resources JS folder, I will create one folder as contexts, and inside this I will create one context file as layout context.tsx. Okay, so inside this, firstly I will just export one layout provider, that will be our component. So I will just write layout provider, and I will just define this fat arrow function. Firstly let me dock this window, and from here I will return layout context dot provider. Okay, and we will have to just create this context just above this. So I will just write const layout context equals, and we will use create context from React. Okay, and we will have to pass the props type. For that we want to create the context. So I will just specify layout context type, okay, or by default I will set this to undefined, and this return type will be undefined. Now we will have to define this layout context type. So I will just specify type equals object, and inside this I will specify the position. So I will create one object and we will have to specify the position as left, right. So better I'll just create one more export as export type, and I will specify the layout position, and this will have left or right, okay. Now inside the position I will pass this layout position, and also we will have to define one method as update position in order to update that position value from left to right or right to left. So this will capture value as layout position, and this will return void. Okay, this is done. Now inside this layout provider component we will have to handle few things. So firstly I will just define one state as position, and the function will be set position, and I will use state hook. Inside this I will just pass the initial value as left, and I will specify this as layout position, okay. And we will have to define this method here, update position. So I will just define const update position, and this will capture the value of type layout position. Let's specify this fat arrow. Now inside this method we will have to set the position value to this state and also in the local storage, because when you will refresh this page, that temporary state value will be reset, but we will have to hold it until this browser storage is not cleared. So for that we will manage it using state and local storage as well. So firstly I'll just set this position to the state as value, and also I will use local storage dot set item function. Inside this I will just pass one key as layout position, and I will just specify the value as val. Now let's copy this method update position, and we will have to return the position and this update position from this layout context provider. So I will use value, and I will use this object as position and update position, and in between I will render the children, and let's capture this from this layout provider as children, and let's specify the type as children React node. And also when we will refresh the page, for that we will have to update that layout position. So for this I will use effect hook, okay, and I will just import this snippet. Now inside this use effect hook I will remove the dependency, and firstly I'll just get the local storage value, local storage dot get item, and we will have this layout position, and I will just typecast this to as layout position, and let's store this in a variable as const stored position. Now I will add one condition: if stored position is left or stored position is right, then I will just set that value to state. So I will be using set position, and I will pass that stored position, and at last I will return one hook as export const use layout. Okay, and inside this I will just define context, and I will just use this context. So I will use context hook here provided by React, and I will pass that context. So we have the context as layout context. Okay, now if we'll check, if we don't have this context, then I will throw new error, and I will pass one message as use layout must be used within layout provider. And if we have context, then I will return that context. Okay, so that's all about this context. Now we have to use this context in our RTL settings in order to capture that position value using this update position method. So this update position method will read the value from this layout RTL settings, and from here I will just enable this on click. Okay, and I will just call that method as update position, and I will import this layout context here. So firstly I'll capture position as layout position, and I will just extract that method as update position, and this will be from use layout. This will be our custom hook inside context. Now I will just use this condition here for rendering the classes as selected. Now in the next step, we will have to wrap this layout context inside app component. So in the app component, we will have to wrap this app component inside context. So we have to use the layout provider which we have defined inside this layout context. So I will use layout provider, and this will be imported from this layout context, and I will just cut this app component and I will keep it inside this. Okay, this is done. Now let's come to the browser, and yes, this is rendering now. Now let's open the developer console and let's navigate to the application, and here we have the storage, local storage. So by default in the local storage, this React starter kit has set the appearance key that contains the value as light or dark. If you just try to check, this is setting that value in the local storage. So whenever if you refresh the page, that state of that appearance setting is not changing because of this local storage. This is picking the value from this local storage. So in the same way, here for this layout settings, we will be setting the value in the local storage. So if we'll try to click on right, we can see we have another local storage key as layout position, and if we'll try to click on left, yes, the value is switching from left and right. Now based on this local storage value, left or right, we have to apply that value for changing this sidebar position. So let's come to that. Now regarding the sidebar, we have to navigate to the resources JS. Inside the components, we have this app sidebar component. Now inside this app sidebar, we have this main navigation menu, as we can see, for this dashboard, manage products and manage categories. And further we have this sidebar component called, and in which we have this variant as inset. Okay, so if we'll check the props available inside this sidebar component, then this supports the props as side, and we have the side as left. So this supports the sidebar position as left and right, and that we will have to pass it dynamically from this app sidebar component. So if we try to pass the side as right by default, just like this, and if we'll come to the browser, then we can see this has changed that layout of this sidebar to right. Okay, but we have to pass it dynamically using that hook that we have created for this layout context from here. So what I will do, inside the component, I will just get that position from this use layout hook, okay, and I will just console that position in order to check are we getting that selected position. Now let's navigate to the browser. Inside the console window, yes, the position value is right, okay, as per this selected value from this layout settings. Now if we'll change this to left, yeah, we are getting that value as left. So we are getting the value in the real time here, okay. Now we have to apply the same position here as a props in this side. That's all. If we'll check, yes, our sidebar is toggling from left and right, just like this. So the sidebar position is working. We are able to toggle that, but this is not done yet. If you'll notice here, when we are changing this sidebar position from left to right, this main content section is not shrinking to this left side, and at the content left side, we have still more spaces left. So ideally, it should happen like when we changed the sidebar position from left to right, this main content area should be shifted to this left side. So for that, we will have to update in the main content as well. So let's come to that. Let me remove the console from here. And for the main content section, we'll have to check out the app sale component. In the app sale component, we have this sidebar provider and this children. So this children is our main content component in which we are rendering. So what we will have to do, we will have to wrap this children in one div so that we can pass the classes inside this. So firstly, I will just extract that position from that custom hook as use layout, okay. So I will just pass the classes, and we will have to pass the classes dynamically based on our position. So if position is right, okay, then I will just pass the classes just like flags row reverse. Else if it is left, then we have to pass the flags and flags row, just like this. If we'll come to the browser, and yes, this has moved to the left. If we'll change this to left, the sidebar has been moved to the left and this main content is shifted to the right. Same thing if we'll change this to right, yes, this is changing. But also we'll have to set the width of this main content to full. So we'll pass the width. So this width full class we needed for every position like right or left. So better I'll just use the class name from library utils, and I will just wrap the classes just like width full and this flags as well. And I will just remove this curly bracket and I will check if position is right, and let's close this parenthesis. That's all. So we have added class as flags and width full, and based on the condition, this will just add the flags row reverse and flags row. That's all. Now if we'll check out, and yes, this has taken full width. Now let's try to switch again. Yes, this is switching properly, right? Now also we can switch this navigation and this title to the right based on this sidebar position to right. So for this, we will have to check out our app sidebar header component. So in this app sidebar header component, this is available inside components itself. this has rendered the sidebar trigger that is for collapsing, and this is our breadcrumbs that displays this title. Okay, so again we will have to switch this from left to right by adding the classes. So currently this has used flags and items center, right? So if we'll just add justify end and width full, and if we'll come to the browser, we can see this toggle and this breadcrumb has been moved to the right. Okay, but again we will have to handle this conditionally. If we will switch this position to left, then again this should be shifted to the left and for the right. So let's add this class conditionally. So again we will have to capture that position here from that context. So we will use position equals use layout hook, and we will check the position. So better we will just use backtick, just like this, and here I will just add dollar position. If it is right, then I will use this justify end, else if it is left, then I will use justify start. Okay, and I will just cut this width full and I will add it here, and we will have to keep it in a single quote, just like this. Now if we'll come to the browser and if we'll try to switch, yes, that breadcrumb and this trigger action is shifting to the left and right as well. Also we can switch this to left side, means just right to this title when this will be shifted to right, and when this will be toggled to the left, by default this icon is in the left position, that is correct. So for the right position we have to move this icon to the right just next to this title. So let's shift that. So for that we will have to just create one condition. If position is left, then we already have this layout. Okay, and I will use this empty fragment here. I'll copy this layout and I will wrap this in a parenthesis, just like this. And for the else part, again I will just open and close this empty parenthesis, and I will paste that, and I will use this ternary operator, and the sidebar trigger I will keep it after this breadcrumb title, just like this. And I will change this class to -mr1. Okay, this will be margin right, and yes, this has shifted to the right just after this title. Now if we try to collapse this, yes, the sidebar is collapsing properly. And if we try to toggle this sidebar to the left, yes, again this has shifted to the left. And that's it for this RTL. We now have a fully working layout toggle using React context, and it is 100% reusable, clean and persistent. So in this video you learned what React context is, how to use it to manage global UI settings, and how to persist data with local storage. In this video you learned what React context is, how to use it to manage global UI settings, how to persist data with the local storage, and how to conditionally render layouts based on the user settings. In our previous videos, we made a dynamic model CRUD system with toast notification, and now with this layout toggle, you are really making admin panel flexible and user friendly. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more full stack tutorials, and leave a comment if you have questions or suggestions regarding this video. And if you need the source code of this project, I will link that repository in the description. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, happy coding.